Good afternoon. I'm Mike King. I'm the senior planner. This is case number Z167395. Let me share my screen. There you go. Okay. This request is an authorized hearing on property zone CR, Community Retail District, CS, Commercial Service District, DA, Duplex District, IR, Industrial Research District, LO1, Limited Office District, MC1, Multiple Commercial District, MF2A, Multifamily District, PA, Parking District, R75A, Single Family District, R10A, Single Family District, TH2A, Townhouse District, TH3A, Townhouse District, and Plan Development Districts numbers 67, 326, 515, 659, 670, 771, 814, and 947. This authorized hearing area is approximately 521 acres. This gives you quite a general location of where it is in the city. Just think just east of Love Field. A better idea is area map right here, showing the individual lots and this neighborhood in its relation to Love Field. It is generally surrounded by Lovers to the north, Inwood to the east, Lemon and Bluffview to the west, and Mockingbird to the south. The zoning and land use in this neighborhood is pretty resilient mix. I've got a on the north end or north and surrounding area surrounding the district, retail and personal services, Love Field Airport. In the district itself, there's some multifamily, and then the majority of it is single family residential. Some background on this case goes back to July of 2017, actually July 2016, and further with the Strategic Neighborhood Action Plan. Ms. Udrea, or Dr. Udrea, actually passed that out, so you can have that as a reference, and Yolanda has it for the notes for later. The residents in the neighborhood were engaged by Planning and Urban Design to develop a vision for their future and address the needs to aid in neighborhood stability. They eventually came up with an action step in a plan to address the need for zoning change in order to aid in neighborhood stabilization. And that brings us to today. With September 7th, 2017, an authorized hearing was initiated by the City Plan Commission. October 12th of 2020, first community meeting was held virtually due to COVID. August 21st, the second community meeting was held virtually and in person. We had a limited amount of people at the KB Polk Recreation Center who didn't have internet access. In December 2020, a steering committee was appointed by Mayor Pro Tem Medrano. So after that steering committee was appointed from January 11th to 2021 to March of 2022, we had 13 steering committee meetings. In late January of 2022, we even did 3 days of on-site, in-person question and answer listening sessions where folks came out in the cold weather and asked questions and spoke with each other. So what we're dealing with in this area is a dramatic decrease in population of people of color. The history of this neighborhood up until 2014, almost 90% of this neighborhood was Black and Hispanic people of color. Prior to 2000, it was almost 90% what we call a Black neighborhood in Dallas. And it goes all the way back to the history of the neighborhood. The median real estate taxes have increased at least 33%. Median home prices have doubled in the last 12 years in at least 2 block groups within the hearing area. The percentage change in median value of an owner-occupied home between 2 recent periods demonstrates the need to address the displacement issues and the pressure of the legacy residents. As you can see, the picture on the left is 2005 to 2009. That had a 132% increase in median value, and from 2015 to 2019, it became a 230% increase. So it's very alarming to the legacy residents in the neighborhood. When we talk about community engagement, we talked about the steering committee meetings. There's 2,213 housing units in the authorized hearing area. The 13 steering committee meetings and the 2 noticed meetings, community meetings that we held, we had approximately 750 stakeholder attendees. We had 3 days of on-site in-person question and answer sessions in January. We had about 180 stakeholders attend. And as of October of 2021, when I first was assigned this case and started trying to keep track of it, staff has responded to numerous emails and calls, 9 in-person meetings with stakeholders. We've interacted with at least 900 stakeholders and 3 neighborhood groups. The interested parties list that we send out reaches over 485 stakeholders in the community. So give you a quick tour of the neighborhood. So we're going to go from Lovers to Inwood. We have a mix of retail, community office, there's school, there's multifamily. Coming around the bank on the corner, a bunch of small shops, some professional offices on Inwood. Get some townhome development and multifamily development along Inwood as well. There's a neighborhood anchor grocery store. More townhouses. When we come around the south side on Mockingbird, this is a bank, but we have some retail services as well. And then coming back around the street, a lot of community retail uses, and then a slew of car dealerships as you go up Lemon. And then the last, we have a small multifamily rehab facility that's inside the authorized hearing area. So the steering committee, through their meetings, it came up with some proposed changes, primarily to affect Tract 3 of PD 67 and to create a new PD in the R75 district located south of University Boulevard. Staff went through and we looked at it starting in October, and we wanted to expand it a little bit. So we wanted to expand that new PD. We also wanted to address PD 67 as a whole, and that would affect Tract 1, 2, 3, and 4, and leave Tract 5 alone because it actually conforms to 51A. Steering committee proposed changes for Tract 3 of PD 67 is duplex use permitted on property fronting Roper Street and Maple Avenue. 90% of the roof structures must be hip and gable when greater than 20 feet from grade. Maximum structure height is 20 feet rather than 30 in R75 districts. No portion of the structure can be greater than 30 feet from grade. Maximum lot coverage is 45% for single-story structures and 35% for multiple-story structures, and this is to address the encroachment on the smaller legacy homes and allow more light and air through the community. The staff proposed changes for Tract 3, PD 67, are the same as the steering committee with one addition. We wanted to reduce the maximum lot coverage for non-residential structures to 20% instead of 25%. So just taking the amount of built space on the lots down. So same issues they have. So this is the red area is Maple and Roper Streets where they want to permit duplex use. Staff concurs with their changes and transportation and The other departments that we've talked to believes that the street can handle it. They're wide enough, and there's not so much demand on it as a thoroughfare. The steering committee proposed changes for Track 3 PD 67 dealing with roof type options. Currently, roof types are not regulated in R75A. What's proposed is 90% of the roof of the main structure must be hip and gable when greater than 20 feet from grade. If the entire structure is greater than 20 feet from grade, 90% of the roof must be hip or gable. If the entire structure is less than 20 feet from grade, the roof doesn't have to be hip or gable, so it allows some of the more modern homes with flat or shed or eccentric types of roofs. We agree, staff agrees with this proposal as well. There are other proposed changes to reduce height from 30 feet to 25 feet. We concur with that. And then lot coverage, taking it from 45% for residential structures to 45% for single-story residential structures and 35% for multiple-story structures. We concur with that too. So, but one last thing we wanted to do with PD 67, taking a harder look at it, we wanted to clarify the code language. PD 67 was written in 1974, so it's as old as I am, and I need to fix a few things too. So, so we wanted to include Tract 1 in the proposed conditions for Tract 3. The belief is that Tract 1 and Tract 3 are virtually identical in the way they were in their development pattern and the housing types there. So we wanted to share the proposed conditions. Maximum lot coverage for non-residential structures is 20% for Tracts 1 and 3. So just taking those accessory structures, non-residential structures down to 20%. And then last, we want to combine Tracts 2 and 4. Tracts 2 and 4 are currently one piece of property. It's a multifamily apartment complex, and they have two zoning districts applying to one piece of property. It's very confusing to our plans examiners and our zoning staff. So we wanted to try to alleviate that burden by combining Tracts 2 and 4. As a matter of fact, Tract 4 is written in Chapter 51A code language. Tract 2 is not. So that further confuses our staff. So a little bit more on that. Let me see. So the steering committee proposed changes for a new plan development. This is the area that is south of University in the R75A district. They believe a planned development district is needed to address displacement pressure while maintaining potential opportunities for new development. 90% of the, so we've gone through these standards for PD 67. You'll notice they're very much the same. 90% of the roof must be hip and gable when more than 20 feet from grade. Maximum structure height of 25 feet. Maximum lot coverage 45% for single-story structures. 35 for multiple story structures, almost identical to PD 67 Tract 3 proposals. The staff proposed changes is just to expand it a little bit, to take that new PD north of University everywhere except for Airway Heights. Airway Heights was a subdivision in this area that just recently, in zoning standards, just recently converted from multifamily to R75A. They fought very hard for that. I want to respect that. So we want to have the same conditions. We just want to do maximum lot coverage for non-residential structures of 20%. Let me get this. There, sorry about that. The steering committee proposed changes. Currently, rooftop not regulated. Sounds redundant to Tract 3, but PD 67. But wanted to go over it one more time. Staff wants to. We concur with the proposed changes. We like what they came up with in their 13 meetings. The maximum structure height going from 30 feet to 25 feet. We concur. maximum lot coverage 45% overall, going to 35% for multiple story structures. We concur with that. So we really just have a few differing opinions with the steering committee on things, and it may just be that it was an oversight or just got lost. So with that, I wanted to entertain your questions, but also say that on June 16th, the City Plan Commission meeting, when y'all meet again, during the briefing, we're going to do a bus tour, so be ready to go out and be a tourist for the morning, and then the CPC hearing hopefully afterwards. With that, do I have any questions?
Oh, I'm sure you do. Thank you very much, Mr. King. Excellent briefing. Commissioner Young, I see you, or please.
Okay. What is the steering committee recommendation and the staff recommendation for the area outside PD 67, which I think would be mostly or entirely the area between Roper and Inwood?
So the area between Roper and Inwood is R10. It's an R10 district. We don't have a recommendation for that. We had a, did you say Roper and Inwood? That's the new PD that's.
I'm sorry, I'm not hearing you.
You said the area between Roper and Inwood?
The area east of what you've got labeled new PD.
Okay, just east of there, that's the R10 district that's along on one side of Oriole Street and one side of Inwood Road, and I want to say Boulevard, sorry.
All right, so your proposal is to leave that as is?
Yes.
Okay. Within the PD, I guess within the old track 3 of the PD, well, actually all the tracks of the PD, is it proposed to retain the existing land use map that allows certain lots to be duplex?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
With the exception that Roper, and I believe you mentioned one other street,
Mabel?
Would become duplex allowable per se?
Yes, sir.
Okay. That's all for now.
Thank you. Commissioner Hampton.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you, Mr. King, for helping shepherd this case through. I know you've taken it up from other staff and appreciate your diligence in bringing this forward in consideration and sharing information with us today. 2 questions, and this map, or perhaps the one prior to it, I think steering committee recommendations had a proposed new PD that extended to University. As staff has evaluated this, you've suggested expanding that north of University. Is that reflecting the, I guess what the general understanding of the Elm Thicket neighborhood is, or could you speak to how staff arrived at that expanded PD area, what your considerations were?
Our considerations on that were that the land use pattern and the development pattern housing types that were in place were extremely similar to what we had south of University. So I wanted a idea that as it is, it's a neighborhood, and I didn't want to divide it along a north-south line. Thank
you. And I think I appreciated you sharing the video virtual bus tour. It was very helpful in understanding the context and some of the character of the area, and I'm sure we'll see that again next week. When you were looking at PD 67, you mentioned that that PD is combining some of the tracks that have similar development patterns, reflecting some of the development that's in place. Is it also reconciling conflicts? I think there's some chapter 51 and chapter 51A references, and it will bring the entire PD forward under 51A and reflecting the existing development pattern. Is that correct? Yes, the staff proposal is to bring it all into 51A. Okay, and I have a lot of questions, and I'm trying to be sensitive to time because I know we're going to be moving into our hearing here shortly. I guess 2 high-level questions. Thank you for sharing this neighborhood action plan with us. One of the considerations is this authorized hearing came out of those recommendations. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
And I think we received some questions about during the steering committee process and through your community outreach on the difference between the authorized hearing and a neighborhood stabilization overlay. Was one of the reasons why the authorized hearing moved forward was because of the number of rezoning requests that were coming in the area?
I don't believe it was the rezoning request. I think it was more attempts to replat, to make the 50 by 150 lots 100 by 150 lots.
And so that combined, and I know many on the commission here have been here when we've had some of the rezoning requests, so they can probably speak to it more than I can as well. But so between those, but those aren't things that could be considered in a neighborhood stabilization overlay. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay, and that was, I think, the bigger question. And you kind of were looking ahead for us to help us understand how this is moving forward. We're going to have a bus tour is scheduled for the 16th. You know, as this moves to Plan Commission, in your experience, and I don't know if this would be a question for Dr. Udrea, you know, would you think that there would be any consideration that this body would, you know, consider this in one hearing, or do you think we'll probably take a couple hearings to allow for our public input and for the commission to evaluate all this criterion information that's coming?
In my experience with this neighborhood, with this authorized hearing, it's going to take some time.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Commissioner Hampton. I think we have time for a couple more questions before we have a hard stop. Commissioner Young, please.
Just a brief request. Could we get a copy of this PowerPoint circulated to the commission before the next hearing?
Absolutely, sir.
Thank you.
And we do have a website, and I think Mike is going to put it on the website too.
Thank you for that. Any questions from our commissioners online? No questions. Thank you very much, Mr. King. Commissioners, just a quick reminder, as Mr. King stated, we do have a bus tour scheduled for the 16th, where we'll be touring the area. And with that, it is 1:40 p.m., and that concludes the briefing of the Dallas City Plan Commission, and we'll begin our hearing right now.